Okay, thanks, Catherine. Welcome, everybody. My name is Terry Paggi, and I am an investor assistant specialist with the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission, and I am based out of our Chicago regional office. The Chicago regional office for the SEC, we handle, in addition to Illinois, we handle matters from Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, and Kentucky. So it's quite a large area, and what we have kind of like a twofold position there. We intake and act as advocates for investors. So if you have a problem with your brokerage firm or an investment advisory firm and you need resolution, we would be contacted. We would then act as an intermediary to try to have some type of successful resolution. We also, there's actually two of us, me and a colleague, and we also conduct preliminary investigations on matters of securities fraud that will be sent to our enforcement division in our regional office. So while the title says investing for older Americans, this really applies for anybody. We have found, though, that seniors are the fastest growing demographic for fraud victims in the country. And a lot of it has to do with the older Americans have more funds. Some of them are not as tech savvy, so they may sometimes fall for things. And sometimes just being lonely and wanting to speak with somebody leaves the door open, and it could have disastrous results. So we're hoping that you walk away from here with something, some piece of information that'll at least let you question things, and we'll go through a lot. But first, as in any presentation, there's a disclaimer that anything that I speak about tonight should not be looked at as any type of legal or investment advice. So this is just, we're just going to discuss things, and I'm not going to be giving advice. So we're just going to cover a very quick overview of the SEC. We'll go through some strategies for smart investing, how to avoid fraud, and this one has been recently added, and it's how to plan for a diminished capacity. We're finding that people are living longer, and because of that, there's some other things like cognitive skills that decline. And before that happens, planning for that will really help you and whoever is will be taking care of you and assisting you. So, Investor.gov. If you take nothing away from here tonight, remember this website. This was created by the SEC several years back. We had a lot of complaints about the SEC website being, and the biggest complaint was it's too technical. And I'll have to say it was really almost written for people in the industry, whether they're brokers, whether they're investment advisors, compliance officers. It was more written for the people of the industry. So Main Street investors that would go on to look for things, it was a nightmare. This Investor.gov was created just exclusively for the Main Street investors. So just a quick overview of the SEC. Our mission is, number one, to protect investors, maintain a fair and orderly market, and we facilitate capital formation. We enact rules to make everything orderly and fair. We require that all publicly traded companies make disclosures, and they have a bunch of different filings so that somebody who wishes to invest in a company can do so with a clear view of what is going on in the company. We also do exams on broker-dealers, investment advisors, and others who participate in the markets. and we enforce federal securities laws. And these are just some numbers of exactly, what are the approximate number of entities that we regulate. It's quite large, as you could see, and there are several self-regulatory organizations, which include Finra, the MSRB, SIPC, and the PCAOB, which is for public accounting individuals. So the size of it, you could see there, 84 trillion in assets are managed under SEC regulated investment advisors, 18 trillion in mutual funds under management, and about 97 trillion in annual trading volume. So, and we process about 17,000 complaints a year. And as I mentioned, we're going to talk about Investor.gov a lot, and you're going to hear me giving it a plug quite often, just so it pushes the thought home that there's a lot of information that you could find there. This is what it looks like. You could see it's made for the Main Street investor. Everybody should go through this. Just cruise through it, see it. There's an actual section strictly for seniors. It's very informative, but we'll go through some, I'll go through some more stuff. So we're going to talk about strategies for smart investing. Every investment has a risk. That is why it's an investment. If somebody tells you there's no risk, no loss, or uses the word guaranteed, walk away, because it is not legitimate. Everything that you deal with has a risk. That is why there's an upside and a downside to investing. So we look at the various types of investments. Cash is an investment, bonds, and stocks. Now, at the top, we're going to look at, are your goals short-term or long-term? Short-term, people may keep cash, CDs, that type of thing. It's a very low risk. However, there's a very short return. The higher the risk, the higher the gain. So it's what you feel is your comfortable risk tolerance. That is what you can afford to lose if something goes south. So we're going to just talk about the various investment types: cash, savings accounts, CDs. I see CDs now on average. I take a look around. I don't know of any that are paying 1%. I remember back in the late 70s, they were paying 16, 17, 18%, but those were the housing loans at that time too. So I guess everything equals out. And then money market funds. Very low risk, again, very low return. Bonds, whether they're government, municipal, corporate, or various bond funds, these have a little bit more risk, but they also provide a predictable income stream. And then we have stocks and stock funds. These have offered the largest growth, but again, the highest risk. And all you have to do is watch any type of business show, and you could see how there's gains and losses pretty much every day. This is the proverbial, we don't want to keep all our eggs in one basket. So a good point of risk management when it comes to your finances is a low, medium, and high. And depending on where you're at in your life travels, you can afford to be more risky as you get younger, and as you get older, your risk tolerance may end up being a little bit less. So your investment strategies will change as we get older. So these are 4 products that we see marketed to seniors, which are not very conducive to their type of investment. As we get older, you may want to have something that you could liquidate without paying any type of penalty. And you may have to liquidate funds for illnesses, taking care of somebody. And if you're locked into some certain products, you will either pay like a high fee, or you may not be able to get them at all. So we're going to look at variable annuities. And this is not to be confused with a fixed annuity, which is an insurance product. It has insurance features that provide an income stream, so you'll know pretty much what you are going to take in. However, it is a security, so the amount of money that you have in there can go down based upon the market. Also, there are very stiff penalties should you decide to do an early withdrawal. So if something came up, you had to pull your money out, you're going to pay a pretty high penalty. There's also some complicated tax rules that are associated with it. So at tax time, when it comes to reporting your income, it's going to hurt you there. This next one is a real estate investment trust. These are great products, mostly for younger to middle-aged people. They are a good income producing line of investment. The problem is their liquidity. They are very consistent. Some of them, you may have to lock up your money for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I've seen them all. So if you needed your money quickly for some type of unforeseen emergency, it's not that you're going to pay a penalty. You will not be able to get your money out until the time of that REIT expires. We have master limited partnerships. These are pretty much involving oil and gas products. And the problem with this is that you are tied to a single industry. So if there's ever a crash in the oil and gas market, you're going to lose a lot of money. And then we have at the last, exchange traded notes. This is where you buy the unsecured debt of a financial institution. And these are very complicated. They have very complex valuation and fees. There's always the risk of the financial institution defaulting. And then you have the market and liquidity risk. So these are things that really, if you're a senior and you are pitched any of these products, these are things that you should really take a look at and not jump right into. Take the information home, talk to other people, maybe consult with an attorney that has some securities experience, and get their idea, because once you sign your name on the dotted line, then it's too late. So water break. All investments have fees, and they do matter. So this is a graph that shows what a person what it would cost them if they took $100,000, and this thing has a 4% annual return. So it's not great, it's not bad. So it's kind of like right in the middle. So the person that invests the $100,000 with a fee of 0.25%, they're going to have just close to about $210,000 over 20 years. So they pretty much doubled what they had. The person that pays 0.5%, they're going to be right around 200. And then the person that pays 1% is going to be about 180. However, this is, you pay for what you get. Looking at a lot of the investment fees from different agencies, if you are going to, like if you have I'm just throwing some names out there, like banks like Bank of America, Chase, whatever, and you have a financial advisor, and you're paying a 1% fee, you're going to have one person assigned to you, and that person will discuss with you over several times a year what's working, what's not, what may, depending on your requirements, what could be a better product to go into. More so the 0.5 or 0.25% are a lot of the online firms where your luck is the luck of the draw. You probably won't get the same person twice, and there's no personal contact. So some people who are very comfortable with that, they can feel good about paying a lower fee and do a lot of the stuff themselves. Others feel that paying the 1%, the personal service and being able to talk to the same person all the time is worth it. So it's just, each one is, whatever a person feels comfortable with. So there is one fund that is, there's an organization called Finra. So it's the Financial Institution Regulatory Authority. And in order to be a broker-dealer or a broker, you must register through Finra. The SEC regulates Finra, and we also regulate the broker-dealers, but this is kind of like an extra set of eyes on them. But if you have a fund that you want to look at, you could put that in here at finra.org. The link is at the bottom, and you can sit there and see how that fund has performed, and you could put over the last quarter, half a year, I think it goes up to like 5 years performance. So you could sit there and see, you're not going to rely on somebody telling you this is something great. You could look at it yourself and see if this fund has been performing to something that would be good for you to invest in. When you pick a fund, does it match your goal? What is the fund's performance? I just spoke about that. How does it compare with your risk tolerance? So if you are, if you don't have a lot of risk, you're not going to want to go into securities. You're going to want something less risky and more safe and secure. So you're going to be looking at a cash product or a bond, something like that. But also, will it help you diversify your investments? So I'll just throw something out there, a person in their 20s, and to make it easy on the math part, they may put 50% in high risk, 25% in a medium risk, and 25% in low risk funds. And because if something goes south with the high risk group, which it does, which it will. It happens. Okay, the market goes up, market goes down, but over the long run, they have enough time, a lifespan left that if they did lose a significant amount of money, they will stand a chance to recoup it. As they get a little bit older, they may go with a 25% high risk and maybe 50% in the medium, and stay 25% in the safe side, low risk. And then as we get into our golden years, some people still like to, be a little bit risky to make some money, but putting more in a moderate risk where they're going to make a steady income, but just not as much. But as I said, we are on a whole living longer. So that is a big concern, is whether or not the funds that you have in various IRAs, investment funds and stuff like that, whether this will last you through your lifetime. So we have investment professionals. We have, there are two types of individuals. There is a broker, and they have to be registered with Finra. They have to actually be licensed. They must take exams. And for each job that they do within the firm, they have to have one license just to answer the phones and speak with people. Then they have to have another license to actually execute trades. There's another license that's required. So if you supervise brokers, so there's a lot of oversight there. However, when you call a broker, you just tell them, I want you to buy 100 shares of ABC Corporation, and I don't want to, it's trading at $100 a share. I don't want to trade over 110, and you place your order. They execute that order. You get charged a commission. They may know that, this is not good, but you're placing the order. An investment advisor, now they must register with either the SEC or the state securities department. Each state has an own securities regulator. So in addition to the SEC, each state has one, and they must be registered with either the SEC or the state. And that depends on whether they're doing business interstate versus intrastate, or there's a dollar threshold of their portfolio. So once they reach a certain threshold, even if they're only doing business within one state, they must register with the SEC in addition to the state. You may have part of this program that you're in, you may get their help in making trades, make recommendations. Some people have managed accounts where they have permission to purchase or sell securities. And then others, it's complete, with your permission, and then others, it's their discretion. So it depends on what type of arrangement you make with the person at the time. So when you consider somebody to be an investment professional, you decide whether or not you need one. Some people feel very, very comfortable in handling their own finances, and that's great. Others don't. And so it's up to you whether you decide if you need one. Then you need to understand what services you may need. Do you want to give them, do you want them to ask your permission before they trade? Do you want them to act on something that, is happening right now and they can't get a hold of you, you're on vacation? So that is something that you have to make the decision on. You should know the warning signs of fraud. We're going to get more into that in a couple more slides, but always check the background investment. And it says, even if referred by a friend. I would almost like that to say, especially if they're referred by a friend, okay? And we will go into another slide that will show you how you can do a background check on the person who you pick to handle your investments. So you would want to ask them, are you registered with the SEC, or are you registered with the state or Finra? What experience do you have? So some people are, they have specialties of working with seniors. What kind of products and services do you offer? And then how are you paid for your services? Now, they mention hourly flat rate. Pretty much almost all of them, if you're an investment advisor, it's a percentage of your assets under management. Brokers are going to be a commission. So if you see, like right now, a lot of the online brokers, one of them started with like $0, so basically free trades. Others had to follow. So, but that does, that's only through them. And if you do something through somebody else, it doesn't apply. So here's some tips to avoid fraud. We just can't stress this enough. I can't tell you how many times I've had people call me, and after given somebody $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Then they go, I did research and I found out that, they've had a history of fraud issues. You should research them before you give them any money or give them control over your money. And we'll show you how to do that. We're going to be aware of the very persuasive tactics and red flags, and be alert to what we call common investment scams. Are they licensed or registered? You could check through Investor.gov. It also has information from Finra on it. So when you put that person's name in there, you could see, are they registered? Have they had any disciplinary actions? Histories of customer complaints. And then previous employment, it'll show every one of their employers, who they were. So if a person, maybe they had issues at their job, and before being fired and terminated, they resigned. And if you see somebody that has had 4 jobs in 2.5 years, that may be something you will, and maybe there's no disciplinary action in there, but that's something that you need to weigh on. Do you feel comfortable with that? Investor.gov is also available in an app, so you can look at it from your smartphone or an iPad. We'll be plugging this as we go along. And this is what it looks like. Now, if you notice, there's a name here, Jordan Ross Belfort. That is the person that we refer to as the Wolf of Wall Street. So if you're ever looking for some entertainment, I strongly urge you to watch that movie, because it shows just how persuasive these people can be. They are professional salespeople. They put you at ease, they make you feel good, and when you feel good, chances are you may let your guard slip. So if you were to look at Mr. Belfort's registration, this is actually his registration number. He has been permanently barred by the SEC from being involved in any type of financial dealings or associating with any firms with investments and securities or providing advice to the public. So you can actually see that. Okay, is the product registered? Many of the scams that we see involve unregistered securities. So you can go onto investor.gov, and the site is called EDGAR. It's an acronym for Electronic Depository Registrations. And you can find out if the company is registered with the SEC. And I spoke about it. You could see all their filings. So a company that is publicly traded, they are required to put online everything that goes on in their company. So when they do a quarterly financial report, they're required to put that online. A yearly financial report, that is required to be put online. There's a thing called an 8K. They're required to report any significant incident. So if the CEO resigns, if they get served with a lawsuit, if they maybe there's an auditor that was charged with embezzlement or something with the company, they must report that. This gives the Main Street investor all the information they need as to whether or not they want to invest with that company. So this is what it looks like. It's from the SEC website, but when you go to EDGAR at investor.gov, it'll take you here. You would put the company name in there, hit search, and it'll pop up. You'll be able to see their address, phone number, and then you'll be able to open up each of the individual filings. And this goes back to, I believe it's 1994, 1996. So you can pull back everything going back to that date. That's when we started with the electronic filings. So Some of the persuasion tactics that are used by fraudsters, the big one is the phantom riches. This is like, this thing is not going to be here forever. If you don't jump on it now, somebody else will, and it's here for a limited time. Source credibility. I use this as one individual that brought to our attention, this individual that was putting out a brochure, and what they did was they put Warren Buffett's photo on it. And so it kind of gave the impression that Warren Buffett was kind of involved in this or gave, approval of it, and he didn't. So again, the scarcity, it's, if you don't act now, it's not going to be here forever. And also with the phantom riches is another one is, if somebody tells you, because really, when I mentioned about the average of 4% was, an average type of thing. If somebody tells you 5%, 50%, I mean, sometimes almost, I'm hearing sometimes people are being told 100%. That is just outrageous. I mean, it's like, there's no way that this could be legitimate. I mean, nobody would even be working jobs if they could, have investments like this. So the social consensus, this we see a lot with within individual groups such as churches, like veterans associations like the Legion or something, VFW, where several other people may be involved in it, and they may be unwitting participants. They may, you may look at them, wow, they've already got some money back. I better jump in on this. And last is reciprocity, where the person that's selling it says, hey, do this for me and I'll return a favor, twofold down the line. We don't really see that often, but the phantom riches and this, the scarcity, they need to act now, are the two biggest, followed by social consensus. Unsolicited offers. These are like, we referred to them as cold calls, in the olden days before voicemail and answering machines. You'd answer the phone and the person would pick it, would try to call you and try to sell you some type of investment. That's why I always tell people, watch The Wolf of Wall Street, because that started when people just strictly communicated by house landlines. But now we have social media, and investment fraudsters, they are watching. They look at on Facebook. They look at all these various boards, investment boards, on sites, and they look for people talking. And the fraudsters may actually be communicating through multiple different accounts at one time. So you're thinking you're talking to 6 different people, and you're actually only chatting with the one individual. So you have to be very, very careful of anything that is done online. These are frauds that we find targeted specifically to seniors. Affinity fraud, that refers to people from specific groups, okay? So this could be churches, this could be veterans groups, but it could also be ethnic groups. So like if you're from a Polish community or you're from a Puerto Rican community, these people come in there, they know you're gonna probably feel comfortable with them, they speak the same language, and they use that as an in to get close to you and hopefully get your money. I mean, we had one in Ohio. I can't go to the specifics, but this individual actually became a member of the church and was in there for about 6 months before he started prying into applying his trade and his investment to some of the members, and actually went through pretty much the entire congregation before he skipped town and with all their money. And again, remember that the person telling you about the investment may also have been scammed. They just don't know it yet. And always, please just check. Even if a person recommends somebody, always do your homework. Check it out. Don't jump right into something. Investment newsletters. These are used to be mailed, but now these things are online, but the same things apply. Companies that have online newsletters or mailings, you're buying, they sell advertising. So they don't do a lot of due diligence. They just, somebody wants to buy an ad, they take the money and put the ad up or print it. Again, fraudsters, it should be will lie about payments they receive in their track records. They may claim that somebody gives them unbiased recommendations, and again, they're probably going to be fraud. And newsletters that are advertised that are on legitimate websites, they may be fraudulent. So the internet is still kind of, even though there is some control over it a little bit, it's still the wild, wild west. You don't know exactly who you're dealing with. This is a very pump and dump. This involves, and again, if you watch, the Wolf of Wall Street, you will see this in action. But these are what we call penny stocks. These are stocks that are trading typically for less than $1. Some of them, maybe a penny a share. Some of them I've seen down to like a half a penny a share. So these involve just very small companies. The people that usually deal with these types of stocks are people that are of limited means and income, and they buy into these smaller companies that are not being traded on major exchanges, and again, to buy it quickly. We're seeing a lot now on these internet boards where, again, the person is, let's just say the person, for the sake, is holding 100,000 shares at a penny a piece, and you think you're talking to maybe a half a dozen people, and somebody just starts touting this stock, and the day I heard this is going to go up, or I heard they're coming to do this. Well, all of a sudden somebody starts buying it, and well, this person's selling it, so that penny a share is now a nickel a share, and people are now, it's almost like a feeding frenzy. Now a couple more people are buying it because they're hearing all this hype about it, and it's going up and up and up, and maybe let's just say it goes to $1 a share. So, and then once everything's sold, the thing settles down to its actual value, which is back to a penny. So somebody who paid $1 a share is now left with something that's worth 1 cent, because it will all come crashing down. And that's how these people work. And one of the big things that Jordan Belfort was able to do is, instead of looking at people of limited means, he was looking at high-end customers. And what he would do would be to sell them blue chip stocks. So we're talking AT&T, IBM, and he would get them to make money on it. And then he would get them involved in some of the penny stocks, saying, like, look at my track record, it's been great, trust me on this. And they would get involved in it. And normally a lot of people in that income level would never be involved in this type of thing, but this is where he made his money. So too good to be true. It's more today than ever before, because sometimes people have a tendency to believe anything that's on the internet is true. Credible gains, breakout prices. This is the big one. Huge upside, no risk. If you hear no risk, walk away. Please just walk away, because once your money's gone, our chances of recouping it are really low. The pressure to buy right now, A lack of documentation, that's a big one, where the person is basically asking you to trust them, and it happens. So let's see here. So these are some of the things that we find that seniors, but also a lot of others, are falling for. So advanced fee scams. This is where you get the email from, I am the late wife of the former finance minister for some country in Africa, and I'm dying of cancer, and I want to give my money away. Please, if you get, send me your information, I will send you some money, and you just have to pay for the taxes and transfer fees or whatever. And any money that you send them is gone. You'll never see it again. Online job offers. This is where we see people that the ad will say, I'm a foreign company, I want to do business in the US, and what I need is somebody to receive checks or electronic transfers, and then put them together and then wire the money to my account, and you get a 10% fee. And 10% fee of, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's a lot of money. But the person that opened the account is the one left on the hook, because the money that they sent out usually has gone out of the country and is now in Moldova or the Ukraine or China or the UK or Cyprus, and once it's gone, it's gone, and the person that sent it out and is holding the account here in the US is the one on the hook for it. Government imposters, and I was just talking with Catherine from the library about this one, but I will give, and we've had people that have purported to be from the federal government, and they get an email saying that, we found money of yours, we need you to pay a fee to get it back, or you got to pay tax on it or something like that. There was an individual that when we were in our office, and this several years back, but I got a call from the person at our front desk, said there's an individual out front that wants to report. They're here to see somebody. So I went out there, and this individual showed me a printed out paper, and what they showed him, what he showed me was somebody that had made a document kind of look like us, but instead of calling it the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, it was called the Securities Administration and Funding Commission or something like that. And their logo was not even like ours. And he had been a victim of a online fraud scam in the past, and these were people were just trying to get him to send the money. And they said his money was being held at the Chicago regional office. And then this individual hopped on a first-class flight from Berlin, Germany, flew the red-eye into O'Hare, took a limo from O'Hare to our office, and was expecting to get paid. And I had to tell him, unfortunately, that this is a fraud, and we don't contact people by email. We can contact them by letter, and we don't charge you money to get your funds back. And I said the actual phone number that they provided was for New York, and it doesn't, it wouldn't apply to us being here located in Chicago. So he spent a whole lot of money for like an overnight trip to and from the US, when a phone call or an email would have saved him a lot. here's avoid paying things by check if possible. And the reason that this is up there is um, a lot of times people now have outdoor mailboxes, and they will put out their a check in the mail to pay a bill to ComEd or NICOR or whatever. And that mail could be stolen from the mailbox. And what they want is not the check that you're writing, it's the actual check. Because on the front of that check is your bank's ABA routing number that tells them what bank you're using. It also has your bank account number on there. It's got your name, it's got your address. Probably it's got your phone number. The only thing it doesn't have is your social security number, which they can then work to try to get, whether it's from you or from some other place through social engineering, pretending to be somebody. So, and that information on the, what we call the dark web, it's kind of like the black market. That type of information is worth, that $25 check going to pay your gas bill in the middle of summer is worth several $1,000s on the dark web as a stolen identity. And that's what they're looking for it for. So I always tell people, if you're able to, please pay your bills online. If you're not, at least go to the post office and drop it in there. Don't leave it in a mailbox out in front of your house where somebody can come up and grab it and go away with it. Another good issue is do not use a debit card for purchases. This, even if you use your debit card as a credit card, it is still tied to your bank account. So we read about scammers at gas pumps or even at stores that are placed on registers. They download the information from your card, and it's stored away, and then that person, the fraudsters, then use that to drain money out of your bank account. If possible, use a credit card, because your limit on fraud for your credit card is only, I believe it's $50. And most banks, if it's confirmed fraud, I've seen in the past, will waive the fee. So, you're much better off putting on a credit card and then paying the bill at, the end of the month, rather than using your debit card. Really, the only time you should use your debit card is if you're withdrawing cash from an ATM. Another one is unclaimed property emails. These are, we all get flooded with them. I can't tell you how many I got, some great uncle, my mother's brother's cousins, seventh side, died over in the United Kingdom, and, all this money is waiting for me, and all I got to do is pay, government taxes, and they'll send me the money, and then if you send them the money, it's gone. So we will have a little Q&A at the end. So here is one. Sorry, getting a little dry. Planning for diminished capacity. I come from the age of my parents. They had a huge shoebox, and that's where their receipts. And actually, the shoe boxes were mostly mine because I wore a size 13 shoe in high school. So there was a large box, and this is how they kept their receipts for the year. It was up in the hallway closet, and whenever they needed to drop stuff in, and then tax time, they would all pull it out. If I could tell anybody anything, you go to Costco, Walmart, whatever. I'm not pushing any type of agenda, but buying a nice 2-drawer filing cabinet and organize this, so in case something happens, somebody who needs to follow up with you can go through there and find things easy. You're going to want to provide emergency contacts. Consider actual written instructions. And the biggest one is involve someone you trust. Now, some will think it's family. I wish I could say that it is always the truth, but however, I have seen so many times that money does things in families that um, I've seen them steal their parents blind, and then the parents are left out on the street. They've sold the home underneath their parents. So this is a very important one, involves someone that you can trust. Organize this, okay? So, you know, put a folder for your bank accounts, your brokerage accounts, if you have mortgage, insurance policies, your pension, retirement, anything with Social Security. Consider putting contact information for financial and medical professionals. So if you see several different doctors, place these in there. It may not be financial related, but if something happens to you and you cannot communicate for yourself, somebody can go in there and say, oh, here's all the doctors that they're seeing. So this way, all that information is available to somebody that is going to help you. Providing your emergency contacts. Now, one nice thing in Illinois here is they now have a Safe Harbor Act. There was situations, I want to say late 90s, early or into the 80s, where people would be cared for by certain caregivers. They would be hired to come in and look after them. And they may be in various states of dementia, Alzheimer's or something like that. And these caretakers would convince the people to go to the bank and take out $3,000 or $4,000 at a time. And eventually their money would be depleted. And back then, the banks were required that if somebody walked in there and wanted their money, they were obligated to give it to them because they could be in trouble with regulators if they don't. Well, now they have a Safe Harbor Act. So let's just say that your normal banking activity is just direct deposit. You write a few checks, maybe make a few cash withdrawals, ATM, but you're really not going into the bank that often. And if you walk in there and you just don't seem yourself, and you want to do something very odd, like maybe withdraw $10,000 or $25,000, they are covered. So if they will say, we will do this, but we want to make some checks first, and they will contact some of your emergency contacts to see if should you be doing this. Okay, you may have a legitimate reason for doing it, but this covers them from any type of civil litigation should something come back at them for not giving you your money right away when they are looking to act in your best interest. I know I even had, when I was by myself, when my spouse was working in a different state, I had on my refrigerator, please, my wife and son's name, here's their phone numbers. It was on my refrigerator. So if I fell at home and whatever, or, something happened to me and I couldn't speak, they knew where to call. You can do this too, you could give this to your investment person. If, here's your number, and if you're able to unreach me, and if regarding unusual activity, or if you're able to get me for 2 weeks, or if you're acting strange and confused. So let them call an emergency contact to check to see if everything's okay. And again, this is involving someone you trust. This is how comfortable you feel with it. You may give them just an overview of your finances. You could have a duplicate statement sent to this person. That's up to you. Who are they going to show it to? This is something that you have to make the final decision on. A good one is to have the person come with you to visit your financial professional and show them and meet them. And so this is who they are. And consider making somebody a power of attorney should you become incapacitated. That's a big one. Here are some links and information to various helplines for seniors. how to report elder abuse. And these are the various agencies, the Do Not Call Registry, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They all have, area agencies on aging. That's a website that you can go to that will take you to individual things, whether it's a township, city, county-run agency for seniors that can help you. The Federal Trade Commission and also the Department of Justice. And the various SEC resources. Again, I can't stress this enough. Please visit this website, go through it, just look at it. Put your investment advisor in. See what his name is. One thing I didn't mention, and I know I'm kind of running to the clock here, but this is your money. You should meet with your person at least 4 times a year. The market changes too often, and if you only meet with them once a year, you could be losing a lot of money. This is your money. This has got to last you. You should be meeting with them 4 times a year, and go over things. Something they put you in maybe hasn't been performing to what they thought it would be. I meet with my person 4 times a year. I'll be getting a call from them any day now, telling me, hey, let's set up a time for you to come in. Let's look over things, and maybe let's discuss things. And there have been times where everything's looking good, and we just chew the fat for a little bit, and call you in the next quarter. So it's good to keep an eye on your money. There's a special section in Investor.gov strictly for seniors. You could see that yourself. One of the things that we have on there, as soon as we become aware of any type of investment scam, it goes right onto Investor.gov. So if it comes in tomorrow morning, by tomorrow afternoon, it's on Investor.gov. That's why it's good to check it several times a week. So you're not going to be falling for any type of scam, because these people are very clever. If something is drying up, they're going to come out with something new, and that you won't be able to know whether or not it's fraudulent or not. Here is our office number. The 312-353-7390, that is our mainline board. They will put you in touch with myself or my colleague. This is our generic email address, so you can email with any questions. Please don't ask me, is this a good stock, or I can't give advice such as that. A lot of times people will say, is this legit? I get that question a ton of times. I tell them, I can't tell you if it's legitimate or not. All I could say is that person or that investment is not registered with the SEC. Now it's up to you to make the choice. Again, and another plug for Investor.gov. The SEC's Twitter account in Chicago went live this week, so they did put this one on Twitter. So it's at Chicago_SEC. You could follow us, so whenever there's another event like this, or whether or not some other scam is being pushed out, we put these things out several times a day. So usually about twice a day, there's a tweet from us, and that's usually 5 days a week, excluding holidays. And does anybody have any questions? Catherine, I don't know, can they enter it into, I guess, a chat box?
Yeah, so they can either enter it into the chat box or they can unmute themselves. So if you want to ask a question, you can hit that unmute button and ask the question that way, or on the bottom of the Zoom window there's a chat option. You can click that and type in your question there.
Hi, Terry. How are you?
Hi, Tom. How's it going?
Good. So thank you very much. Great presentation. What's the SEC most concerned about? What's the I don't want to say scam or scheme, but what's keeping you guys up at night?
Oh God, your list is, it's everything. I mean, it's everything that I talked about is what people are falling for. And
Sure.
it's, I just wish everybody could just slow down, research it, see if it's legitimate in their opinion, or contact us. I had so many people that were like, they're calling us after they've lost three, four, $500,000,
Right.
and it's like, if you would have contacted us prior to this, I could have told you it's investment's not
Sure.
registered, or there's currently an issue with this individual, but um, that is right now the SEC's biggest concern is Main Street investors, protecting them, keeping them from falling for fraud.
Sure.
And we
Sure.
hope that with Investor.gov, it's very user friendly. I did not even like it when I first joined the commission. I did not even like our website because it was very technical. So if you had no idea of what a naked put was, or an option, you could never find your way around a thing. And Investor.gov is written for just the plain average Jane and John Doe. So
Thanks. Thanks, Terry. Appreciate it.
okay, great. Any other questions? Well, Chicago at SEC.gov. If you do, contact us and we will do our best to help you out. And please do your homework and invest safely.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much, Terry.
All right, Catherine, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you,
All right.
everybody. Have a good night.
All right. Goodbye.